The diner on Lexington Avenue wasn't fancy. It sat on the corner of a worn-down block in West Baltimore, wedged between a pawn shop and a laundromat that hadn't seen new paint in a decade. Most nights, it closed by 10, but not this one. Serena was still inside, wiping down tables, counting tips that barely covered rent when she noticed the boy outside. He sat alone in a battered wheelchair under the blinking diner sign, soaked and still, like the world had forgotten he was there. No one else noticed. But Serena always noticed. She unlocked the door without thinking. Moments later, the boy was inside, wrapped in a towel that smelled faintly of bleach and old coffee. He said his name was Daniel, said he was waiting for his dad. Said it like a question, not a fact. She nodded. Didn't push. Asked if he was hungry. He nodded back. In her world, food was more than survival. It was dignity. A grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup, the same combo her grandmother made when things got bad, slid across the table without a word about payment. Daniel's eyes lit up. He didn't speak much, but every bite said more than he could. He told her his dad had just stepped into a meeting. A few minutes, he said. The way kids say what they're told to say. Serena didn't argue. She just let him eat, let him be a kid. What she didn't know was that across the street, behind the tinted windows of a Bentley parked in the shadows, someone was watching. Raymond Holt had made billions building tech no one understood but everyone used. He made decisions in seconds that shifted entire markets. Control was his game. But tonight, he wasn't in control. He'd told his son to wait by the diner. A quick call with investors in Tokyo had turned into 45 minutes. He hadn't expected the boy to still be sitting outside. He hadn't expected a stranger to step in, and he definitely hadn't expected her, Serena. No last name yet, just the woman who did something for his son he couldn't. Raymond didn't move, he didn't interrupt, he just watched, silent, calculating. Then he picked up the phone and made a call. Inside, Daniel was finishing his sandwich. Serena added a cookie. No big deal. On the house. He smiled finally, the kind of smile that doesn't need words. She let him stay. Told him he could rest a while. Told him it was no trouble. Then the door opened again. Not his father. Not a customer. A woman in jeans and a hoodie stepped in. She had that polished ease that didn't fit the neighborhood. Said she was Daniel's aunt. Said she was taking him home. Her tone was smooth, but Serena heard the cracks. She asked Daniel if it was true. He paused. Long enough. Too long. But what could she do? A black woman in West Baltimore asking too many questions gets the wrong kind of attention. She handed Daniel a cookie for the road, told him to take care. He said thank you. The woman didn't. Across the street, Raymond watched as they stepped into the Bentley. Daniel climbed in, still holding the cookie. The door closed. The car didn't move. Inside, Serena stood behind the counter, staring at the empty booth where the boy had been. It should have been just another night. But Raymond Holt didn't believe in chance, and what just happened wasn't random. It was the beginning of something he hadn't planned for, and that made it dangerous. Nora didn't knock when she got in the car. The back door swung open before her knuckles reached the handle. Raymond was already waiting, eyes fixed on the diner's glowing sign, jaw tight enough to cut glass. She didn't buy it, Nora said, brushing rain from her sleeves. Didn't believe I was family. Raymond didn't turn, but she let him go. She had no choice, Nora replied. A black woman causing a scene in a diner on Lexington? She knew how that ends. She read the room, played it safe. He finally looked at her. Did the boy say anything? Just that his dad told him to wait. Nora paused. He believed it. Barely. Raymond leaned back in the seat, fingers tapping once on the armrest. Find out who she is. Name, background, employment, anything with a paper trail. Already on it, Nora said. I've got someone checking her employee files. The diner owner still uses paper logs, so it might take a minute. I want it on my desk by morning. Of course. The Bentley pulled away from the curb, engine low and smooth, headlights slicing through the Baltimore rain. Inside, the silence between them held weight. Nora glanced once toward Raymond but said nothing. There was nothing else to say. She understood what most people didn't. When Raymond Holt felt something shift, the world around him usually did too. Serena didn't sleep that night. Back home, in the cramped apartment on West Fayette, the heat clicked uselessly, and the walls carried every footstep from the hallway like thunder. She dropped her apron on the floor, ignored the wet sneakers, and sat at the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Something about the woman had unsettled her, too smooth, too polished. That kind of ease wasn't born in Baltimore. It was trained, practiced, and Daniel's hesitation, brief, almost imperceptible, told her all she needed to know. That woman wasn't family, and Daniel didn't want to go. But what was she supposed to do? What would anyone have done? The question circled her mind like a hawk. She told herself she did the right thing. She fed him. She gave him warmth. She made sure he left with something in his hands, not nothing. Still, the unease didn't leave. And then came the knock. It was nearly midnight. No one knocked at midnight unless it was bad news or worse. She stayed still for a moment, then moved. The man on the other side of the door looked like a warning. Coat-tailored, shoes too clean for a Baltimore sidewalk, face unreadable, voice even flatter. Raymond Holt. She'd never heard the name. What do you want? To talk. Serena didn't open the door all the way. Just enough to see his eyes, just enough to hear what kind of power stood in front of her. You know my son, he said. She didn't blink. Daniel? He told you his name? He didn't have to. Her voice didn't waver. There was a beat of silence. I watched you last night. You what? From across the street. Now she stepped back, the chill rushing in again. I'm not here to threaten you, he said. I'm here because I don't believe in charity. I believe in paying debts. She glanced down. He had placed an envelope on her kitchen table. She hadn't even seen him do it. What is that? A job offer. She laughed once, sharp and flat. You think giving me a paycheck makes us even? I think giving you an opportunity is different from giving you a handout. She looked at the envelope like it might explode. What kind of job? Holt Dynamics. You'd be working directly with me. I don't have a degree. You have instincts. People trust you. You read the room faster than most people I've ever met. He paused. That matters more. She shook her head. You've got a building full of people with diplomas and 5-year plans. What do you want with a waitress from Lexington Avenue? He didn't flinch. Exactly. She didn't open the envelope. Not yet. But something shifted in the room, a kind of silence that didn't come from fear, just recognition. I'm not promising it'll be easy, Raymond said, but I don't hire people to make my life easy. Serena stared at him for a long time. Then finally, quietly, I'll think about it. He nodded once and walked out without another word. She didn't move for minutes after the door shut. Just stood there staring at the envelope like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Because deep down she already knew. She wasn't thinking about it. She was going to say yes. Walking into Holt Dynamics was like crossing into another world. The building towered above everything on Pratt Street, all glass and steel and money. Serena showed her ID to the front desk, got her badge, and tried not to flinch when every pair of eyes in the lobby turned toward her. They didn't stare long, just enough to register that she didn't belong. Not yet. The elevator moved too fast. The carpet was too quiet. The receptionist on the top floor greeted her with a tone just polite enough to be legal. Serena didn't care. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here because someone rich enough to buy the city decided she was worth something, and she wanted to know why. Raymond's office looked like a museum. Floor-to-ceiling windows, nothing out of place, a desk so clean it might have been for show. He didn't look up when she walked in. You're late. It's 2 minutes. 2 minutes I don't get back. She didn't apologize, just sat. He liked precision. Fine. So did she. Before she could speak, the door opened behind her. Nora stepped in. No clipboard this time, just a tablet in one hand and the same unreadable expression. I've uploaded the Orion Group report, she said, setting the tablet on Raymond's desk. Preliminary analysis is on page 3. Would you like me to brief her on protocol? Raymond didn't look up. No, I will. Nora gave Serena a glance before turning to leave. Not quite friendly, not quite hostile, just a warning wrapped in perfect professionalism. Raymond slid the tablet across the desk. The Orion Group wants to move production overseas, cut labor costs, raise margins. Serena scanned the file, hundreds of jobs gone, entire neighborhoods gutted for efficiency. And you want me to stop that? I want you to change their minds, she raised an eyebrow. Because I'm charming? Because you understand what it means to lose everything. He said it like a fact, not pity, not sentiment, just numbers. But it landed hard. Raymond leaned forward. People with nothing to lose fight the hardest. That's what makes you dangerous. She looked down at the file again. The numbers were clean. The story behind them wasn't. When's the meeting? Noon. Great. I'll bring my best smile. Raymond didn't respond, just watched her like she was a live experiment. Serena stood. I hope you know what you're doing. He nodded once. I do. The conference room was colder than the rest of the building. All glass, no warmth. Serena sat next to Raymond at the long table while three men in suits lounged across from them, all expensive watches and easy arrogance. The leader, Philip Langford, barely looked at her. He talked like she wasn't there. We're not eliminating jobs, he said. We're reallocating resources. Raymond didn't blink. You're dismantling a workforce that built your infrastructure. Langford smiled. It's not personal, it's just business. Serena had heard that line before. When her rent jumped overnight, when her mother lost her factory job, when people like Langford gutted entire zip codes and called it strategy, she leaned forward. Funny how it's always just business until it's your job on the line. That got Langford's attention. He looked at her properly now. And you are? Serena Carter? Holt Dynamics. He gave her a once-over and dismissed her just as fast. Look, sweetheart, she cut him off. Let's talk numbers. She slid a sheet of paper across the table. Market projections, cost breakdowns, long-term risk analysis. In 3 years, outsourcing would become more expensive than staying domestic. Labor protests, PR disasters, investor panic. Langford glanced at it, then at Raymond. She's bluffing. Raymond didn't move. No, she's not. Langford looked again. The numbers were real. The risk was real. Silence stretched. We'll revisit the proposal, he said. See that you do, Raymond replied. As they left, Serena didn't smile, didn't gloat. She didn't need to. The silence in the room had already shifted. She'd changed something. Back in Raymond's office, she waited. Well, she asked. He looked up from the tablet, eyes sharp. I knew I hired you for a reason. Damn right you did. For the first time since she walked through the glass doors of Holt Dynamics, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like a threat. 2 months in, Serena had learned how to walk through Holt Dynamics like she owned the place, even if half the people still looked at her like she didn't belong. She didn't care. She wasn't there to be liked. She was there to be necessary. And she was. Until the email. It landed in her inbox on a Tuesday, disguised as an internal alert. Subject line, urgent financial disclosure review. Serena opened it casually, expecting routine numbers. What she saw instead was a forwarded copy of a confidential company report. Attached to it were metadata logs, timestamps, sender details, and her name. Her name. Within an hour, Nora found her in the hallway. No clipboard, no tablet, just a printed copy of the email in her hand and a look Serena hadn't seen before. We've got a problem. Define problem. Nora handed her the paper. Serena's stomach flipped before she even read the first line. This isn't mine. I know, Nora said, but someone wants it to be. The walls of the hallway suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. Who's seen it? Raymond and the board. Serena folded the paper, tucked it into her blazer like it might bite. Great. She didn't wait for an invitation, walked straight to Raymond's office. Nora didn't stop her. He was standing by the window when she entered. He didn't turn. Tell me I wasn't wrong. She threw the email onto his desk. You weren't. He still didn't look at it. He didn't need to. I want to believe that, he said. But this leak, it's millions. Stock drops, investigations. You understand the stakes. She leaned across the desk. I understand exactly what this is. I'm the outsider, the new hire, the black woman with a loud voice and too many meetings. I'm easy to blame. Raymond didn't argue. That said enough. Do you think I did this? No, he said, but the board does. The breath she'd been holding slipped out, sharp and tight. So what happens now? We find out who did. Her eyebrows lifted. We? He looked at her then. Really looked. We, he repeated. Not you. Not me. We. It was the first time since this started that the panic in her chest loosened. Raymond reached for his coat. Nora's already tracing the source. Whoever sent this used an external server, covered their tracks. Serena crossed her arms. And if we don't find them in time? Raymond fastened the last button on his sleeve. Then we make them regret it. They worked through the night, Serena and Nora side by side, eyes bloodshot, coffee cold by the time it hit their lips, server logs, login histories, IP traces rerouted through firewalls. Whoever did it was smart, but not smart enough. At 3:42 a.m., Nora stopped scrolling. Got him. Serena leaned in. Who? Eric Calloway. The name was a punch to the gut. 10-year veteran, VP of Strategic Accounts, Polish, friendly. The kind of man who smiled in elevators and used people's names in meetings like he'd known them for years. They followed the breadcrumbs: a private server, a burner email account, phone calls to a known business journalist, bank transfers that lined up too neatly. By morning, they had enough to bury him. Serena didn't wait to be summoned. She walked into the boardroom before the clock struck 9, file in hand, expression carved from steel. The room was full, Raymond at the head, the rest of the board flanking him like judges, the air thick with expectation. Most of them didn't expect her to speak. Some didn't expect her to survive the day. She didn't sit. "I know why I'm here," she said, "but I don't think you do." She dropped the folder on the table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "You picked the wrong person." No one moved. No one breathed. "This isn't my leak, but I know whose it is." She pushed the folder down the table. Names, transactions, calls, all leading to Calloway. The room changed in seconds. Posture shifted. Faces tightened. Calloway, 2 seats down, turned gray. "She's bluffing," he snapped. Raymond's voice sliced the air. "No, she's not." Calloway's mouth hung open, searching for a denial that wouldn't come. Raymond stood slowly, adjusted his cuffs, and spoke like the words had been ready all night. "Effective immediately, Eric Calloway is terminated. Full legal action will be pursued." He let it hang there, then turned to the rest of the room. "And if anyone else thinks they can pull the same stunt, consider this your only warning." Silence. Serena didn't smile, didn't flinch. She didn't need to. She'd walked into the fire, and she'd walked out standing. That was enough. 2 weeks later, Serena stood on the edge of a high school football field, fake grass crunching under her heels, the sounds of folding chairs and proud parents buzzing behind her. A row of graduates lined up on the stage, some in caps too big, some in wheelchairs, all holding tight to something they'd earned. Daniel was near the center, back straight, eyes forward, diploma in his lap like a trophy. When he spotted her near the fence, he raised it above his head with both hands. His grin was so wide it made everything else fade for a second. "I told you I'd make it," he said as she walked up after the ceremony. "I never doubted it," she replied, bumping her fist gently against the side of his chair. Behind him, Raymond stood quiet, his suit just barely out of place, like he hadn't meant to stay as long as he did. He didn't say anything at first, just watched. Then, "You did good, Carter." Serena glanced at him, shrugged. "Damn right I did." Daniel looked between the two of them like he was watching the beginning of a joke. "Are you guys going to hug or something?" Raymond sighed. "Absolutely not." Serena rolled her eyes. "God, no." Daniel laughed so hard he nearly tipped forward. That night, Serena walked home without checking over her shoulder. She didn't count streetlights. She didn't rehearse answers in her head. She didn't plan what she'd say if someone questioned whether she deserved to be where she was. She didn't need to. She had walked into the heart of a billion-dollar company and stopped a man who'd spent a decade learning how not to get caught. She had told a boardroom full of men with 5 homes and 7 pensions that they were wrong and made them listen. And now she was building something real. Months passed. The board stopped looking at her like a wild card. Some still kept their distance, but not all. Her name started to carry weight. She got calls for things she wasn't expected to handle, invitations to strategy meetings that once happened without her. The whispers stopped. The respect didn't come loudly, but it came. She started mentoring interns, built out a small team, fought for budgets that went to overlooked neighborhoods, made it harder for decisions to be made behind closed doors. She didn't try to change the company overnight, but she knew exactly which wires to cut and where to plug in new ones. Then came the foundation. Carter Holt. Not Raymond's idea, not entirely. Not hers either, really. It came from Daniel. He'd been volunteering at a community center on the west side, working with kids who reminded him of himself. Wheelchairs, braces, quiet anger. One day he called Serena from the parking lot and said, "Why don't we build one of these ourselves?" She brought the idea to Raymond. He didn't blink, just said, "Send me the proposal." 6 months later, they broke ground. On opening day, the ribbon stretched across the brand new double doors, red and clean and waiting. A brass plaque beside it read, "The Carter Holt Foundation, investing in the people the world forgets." Daniel stood beside her, older now, taller, hoodie zipped up over a college t-shirt. He didn't say much, just looked at the building like it was something he'd imagined and didn't think would ever become real. Raymond arrived late, as usual. No speech, no fanfare. Just nodded once when Serena handed him the scissors. The crowd clapped when the ribbon fell. Photos were taken, kids ran inside, parents followed. No one asked how it all started. No one mentioned a rainy night in West Baltimore, a diner with flickering neon, a boy in a wheelchair, and a woman with too many shifts behind her and not enough dollars in her pocket. But Serena remembered. She always would. Because the thing about kindness, the real kind, the kind that shows up without asking for anything back, is that it leaves a mark. It doesn't always make headlines, it doesn't always pay off right away, but sometimes, if the world is paying attention, it becomes the start of everything. 3 years later, Serena Carter's name was engraved in brush steel outside the corner office on the 37th floor of Holt Dynamics. Vice President of Corporate Strategy, same company, same tower, different rules now. Her calendar was booked 6 weeks out. She spoke on panels, pitched to international partners, mentored women from neighborhoods like the one she grew up in. But the work that mattered most didn't live in headlines or LinkedIn endorsements. It lived in the changes no one else noticed until they couldn't be ignored. Holt Dynamics had shifted, quietly, strategically. Labor policies rewired, ethical sourcing audits made mandatory, hiring pipelines redirected toward community colleges instead of Ivy Leagues, not for PR, not to check a box. But because Serena had sat in too many rooms where silence cost people their livelihoods, and now she made sure the right voices were in the room before the door closed. People still underestimated her. Not as many. Not twice. The Carter Holt Foundation had expanded too. New branches, mobile clinics, after-school tech programs in neighborhoods no one used to invest in. They launched a grant fund named after Serena's mother, even though Serena never asked for that. Raymond did it on his own. She didn't thank him. Didn't have to. Daniel was a sophomore now, pre-law. Still came home on breaks. Still brought his friends to the center and challenged Serena to ping-pong games he kept losing. He had her fire and Raymond's stare and something that didn't belong to either of them. Peace. Like he didn't need to fight as hard as they had to breathe. And then one Tuesday morning, Serena walked into a boardroom and felt it. The air was off. Polite, controlled, too quiet. Raymond wasn't at the head of the table. Nora sat in his place. Serena didn't sit. What's going on? Nora didn't blink. Raymond stepping back. Serena's heart didn't skip. It dropped. Why? Health, burnout, legacy. Nora listed them like bullet points, then added he recommended a successor. Serena raised an eyebrow. And, Nora slid a folder across the table, he chose you. Silence swallowed the room. Half the board shifted in their seats. One cleared his throat like he was about to object. No one did. Serena didn't touch the folder. You all knew this? They nodded, some reluctantly. One or two with open approval, others just calculated. I haven't accepted. You haven't refused. That came from the youngest board member, a woman Serena had once mentored through a corporate fellowship program. Her voice was calm, clear. You built half of this company from the inside out, the woman said. No one knows it better, not even him. The room waited. Serena looked down at the folder but didn't open it. I need time. You have 48 hours, Nora said. After that, it goes to a vote. Serena left the boardroom with the folder still unopened. She didn't go back to her office. She went down, way down, to the basement levels where old payroll records and forgotten equipment gathered dust. She found an empty service hallway, sat on a milk crate, and finally let the weight hit. CEO. Not because she begged for it. Not because she outlasted everyone. But because someone like Raymond Holt, who had once watched her from the shadows of a Bentley, had decided she didn't just belong. She led. The irony wasn't lost on her. Back then, she was the woman who wiped counters in a diner for tips. Now she had the power to redraw entire economies. But the question that haunted her wasn't whether she could do it. It was whether she could still be the same person, the one who stepped into the rain for a kid she didn't know. No title, no leverage, just a gut feeling and a grilled cheese sandwich. Because if she couldn't be that person anymore, none of it meant anything. She stayed in that hallway for almost an hour. When she came back upstairs, the folder was still in her hand, still closed. She walked into Raymond's office, his old office, without knocking. He wasn't there, but a note sat on the desk, simple and handwritten. You don't owe me anything. Just don't forget who you were when no one was looking. R. She sat in his chair, leaned back, and finally opened the folder. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just read. And when she finished, she reached for a pen. 6 months later, Serena stood behind the podium at the company's annual summit, her voice echoing off steel and glass. Cameras clicked, reporters scribbled. Her name flashed across screens behind her in bold letters. Serena Carter, CEO, Holt Dynamics. She didn't speak long. She never did when the words mattered. Just long enough to lay out the new labor initiative, the tech apprenticeship pipeline, the expansion of the Carter Holt Foundation. She closed with a simple phrase: "We rise by investing in people, not ideas, not margins, people." Applause followed, sharp and immediate. She didn't linger. She hated stages. In the weeks that followed, things moved fast. A partnership with the city to build affordable housing near the company's newest hub. A three-year funding commitment to revitalize public school STEM programs. An anonymous donation to rebuild the diner on Lexington Avenue after a kitchen fire shut it down. Raymond didn't attend the summit. He was somewhere in Oregon now, hiking trails and ignoring emails. But he sent a postcard that arrived a week late. It had 2 words on the back: "Good choice." Serena laughed when she read it, tossed it into a drawer filled with things that didn't look important, but meant everything. A matchbook from the old diner, Daniel's graduation wristband, a torn receipt with a phone number she never called. She kept all of it. Daniel came home that summer, taller, louder, smarter in the way only college kids are, half philosophy, half confidence. He visited the foundation every day, helped paint walls, argued about curriculum, brought in friends to run coding workshops. One afternoon, they sat on the rooftop of the new headquarters, feet hanging over the edge, city buzzing below them. He looked out over Baltimore like he was still trying to believe he was part of it. "You ever think about that night?" he asked. Serena didn't have to ask which one. "Sometimes," she said. "I think about it all the time," he replied. "That sandwich, that's probably why I went into public policy." She snorted. "Because of grilled cheese?" He shrugged. "Because of kindness." They sat there a while longer, not saying much, just letting the noise settle around them. Then Daniel pulled something from his backpack, a box, small, plain. "I was going to wait," he said, "but I figured now's fine." Inside was a plaque, simple, engraved, in honor of Serena Carter, who saw the boy before she saw the billionaire. She didn't say anything, just closed the box slowly. Daniel nudged her shoulder. "You okay?" She nodded. Later that night, she installed it herself, just outside the foundation's main entrance. No ceremony, no speech, just a quiet moment in the dark, the city humming like a lullaby in the background. Years passed, not fast, not slow, just enough to shift the lines on her face, the tone of her voice, the names on her calendar. She hired people smarter than her, promoted the ones who challenged her, fired 2 board members who tried to cut ethical audits. She didn't flinch, didn't explain. She started teaching guest lectures once a month at the same community college that used to send her rejection letters. She stopped taking meetings after 6 p.m. She started taking calls from her mother more often. She still walked through the foundation every Friday morning. Still checked in on the tutors, the parents, the students who had memorized her steps by now. They'd wave. She'd wave back. One Friday, she paused in the hallway to fix a crooked poster. A girl about 9 or 10 was watching from a distance, backpack slung over one shoulder, shoelaces untied. "You work here?" the girl asked. Serena turned. "Yeah, something like that." "You important?" Serena smiled. "Sometimes." The girl nodded, like that was a good enough answer, then walked off, humming to herself. That was enough. The diner reopened under new management, same name, same neon sign, now fully fixed. Serena stopped by sometimes, not often, just when the craving hit. She always ordered the same thing: grilled cheese, tomato soup, 1 chocolate chip cookie on the side. She never paid. They never let her. And no one ever asked why. Kindness is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't wait to be recognized. It doesn't ask who's watching. But sometimes kindness opens a door that power can't. Sometimes it builds something that money alone never will. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it brings you back to where it all started. Not to relive it, but to remember why you chose to move forward in the first place. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's story. We're deeply grateful for your presence and attention. Every story we share carries a message, and today's was a reminder that kindness, no matter how small, can ripple into something powerful and life changing. It costs nothing but means everything, especially when it's offered without expectation. If this story touched you, all we ask is a simple gesture. Click the like button to support our channel and leave a comment below to let us know which country you're watching from and how this story made you feel. Your words truly matter to us and help us continue sharing meaningful stories from around the world. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story that might just change your perspective or your life. Thank you again for being here with us. Your support makes all the difference.